They're like, is it be on in a little bit? Let's see. Oh, we are on. All right. So we are streaming today on YouTube, Activate Your Power Now, Facebook, Activate Your Power Now, and my personal page, Isabel Luz Camacho Black. And I'm here today just to share a conversation with Karen Yates. She has an amazing story that has totally inspired me since I've met her virtually, and you'll figure out why she's virtual in a little bit. But Lauren Dreyer, thank you so much for the introduction. This is going to be a good one. Everyone, I just suggest as you go tuning in, take note. She's going to have some pretty amazing things to talk about at this time of the year as we're all setting new goals and jumping into new things. So my audience pretty much knows me, Isabel Luz Camacho Black, or Izzy the Intentional Healer, co-founder of Activate Your Power Now with James Love. And we have a wonderful team. Ooh, go to our website and check us out. Um, just jumping on today, I'm so intrigued by Karen's story. I wanted to hear more, and I was like, let's just go live and do it so we can inspire many people just the way you inspired me. So I'm gonna hand it over so Karen can tell a little bit about herself and a little bit about her story.
Thanks so much for having me, Izzy. I'm excited to share. It is one of my biggest intentions, really, to inspire others. It is one of my motivating factors that I want to inspire others because I realize that so many people have this desire to do something different, to do something more, and they feel stuck where they are, and that's really sad to me because I made a jump, a leap of faith, and I'm here now, and yeah, I want to use my story and what I've learned along the way to really help others make that leap of faith, make that jump into something that feels a little bit uncomfortable because, as we know, anything new is uncomfortable.
Most things worth having in life make you at one point or another feel very uncomfortable with who you thought you were. I
Yeah.
guess.
So a little about me. Back in 2018, my husband and I, we'd been married for 18 years at the time, and we were at a really rough point in our marriage. Really rough point where it would have been easier, really, to be frank, easier to separate and go our separate ways. And, but there was something holding us together. That love that had initially brought us together, it was still there. It was just buried under all of this bleh.
Right.
And two kids together, neither one of us really wanted that path. So we said, okay, let's do what we can. We tried marriage counseling. It was left us unfulfilled, left us feeling like now we're not getting here. And so we did the only thing that we knew how to do, which was to talk. And we sat down and we had those really difficult, heart wrenching, emotional conversations.
Hmm.
And through these conversations, I started to realize what my husband had realized for a long time was that our life, as such as it was not working. That, being apart for 9, 10 hours a day, coming home and making dinner and getting the kids ready for bed and all that, like we didn't have any time for each other. And
Right.
those vacations, those cherished times,
Mhm.
they were really far apart. Had 2, 3 weeks a year where we could go and actually be together. It really sucked. So the
Right.
more we talked about it, the more we're like, oh, we just need to spend more time together. And at the same time, I'm realizing, what, my kids are growing up, and I'm not spending any time with them.
Mhm.
They're not getting any younger, and so, but there were hurdles.
Mhm.
The biggest one, a job. My job was not something I could do remotely. It was not something I could go in and say, you know what, can I just work like 3 days a week? And finance wise, like we couldn't have afforded that anyways. So it's like, what do you do?
Right. And you had a
So
great career. I mean, you had a great career.
yes, I was
Now,
a
where was?
research chemist.
Mhm.
So I had worked I had worked big pharma. I'd worked for Pfizer. Had lost my job actually 3 times, all through site closures and business
Wow.
decisions. Nothing, nothing personal that I had
Yeah.
done, but um, every time I lost my job, we'd have to move because as a chemist, there's not another chemistry job
Right.
right around the corner, right? You
Right.
have to move. And
Right.
so, we felt beat up and
Mm.
finances were in the dumps.
Yeah.
So we're thinking, how do we spend more time together? And this idea hit that, why don't we leave the States and do something that, we've thought about doing, but we thought about it in retirement. We're like, okay, when we retire, then we're going to go travel.
And how long
And
was it before retirement during that conversation?
oh,
How
at
long
that
were you
point,
willing to
it was
put it
like
off at that point?
infinite at that point because there was no savings.
Wow. Yeah. So it's
there
just a
was, there
dream.
was, yeah, it was just a dream. And the more we talked about it, it's like, okay, well, if you think about you're going to do it in retirement, you're like, okay, well, you have to be in, when you have to have the finances to do it.
Mhm.
So things have to go well there. Two, you have to have the health.
Right.
Um,
Which is where
you
most
both
people
have to be healthy,
right.
which there's no
The
guarantee.
corporate world will beat you up, they'll chew you up, they'll throw you out, and by the time you get to the end of it, there's nothing left, unfortunately, if you're not intentional.
Absolutely. And
Right.
then three, you have to hope that, there's not a global pandemic going on because like we've seen that where like things just get shut down. So, uh,
Right. But you got
so
to experience what that was like as well, right?
we did because we left in August of 2019 to start traveling full time. And so, we overcame the hurdle of like figuring out how to get some money saved up in a very rapid sense because we started this conversation in 2018 and we left in August of 2019. We
Wow.
hadn't really decided even that we were going to pursue this until January of 2019. So we
Yeah.
had like 8 months of like really intense um, change in all honesty. Like, there was a lot going on there.
We feel like our backs are against the wall, and you guys had a lot to lose if you just chose to walk away. There was a lot invested already, including obviously your children. And
Absolutely.
it's when our backs are against the wall, when we're willing to um, try anything, do anything, we become desperate. And it's like if we can make that practice our day to day to stay in alignment with it instead of waiting until we're in fear mode and have to come out fighting. Um, that's a beautiful thing. So yes, I want to hear more. I just wanted to say that because it's like so many of us find ourselves there, but we don't know what to do with it. You know, with that fear kicks in. We don't know what to do
Absolutely.
when we're in that
Absolutely. And
situation. We give up. The easiest things to, well, we think the easiest thing is to give up. But wow,
right.
thank you.
To give up or to stay stuck right where you're at. There's many people that I've met, they're in a marriage that neither one is happy with, but they
Right,
stay stuck right there. And we just said, you know what? We're not doing that. We are not we're not using this one life that we have to be unhappy.
right. Enough is enough. That's
Enough
what
is
resonates.
enough. So
You know, in 2017, when my intentional life started, that's basically where I was. Enough was, I had enough. I just got sick and tired of being sick and tired. And again, that's when I was willing to surrender. And when I surrendered, I was able to actually start hearing the guidance voice more clearer. You know, my trust was reaping great fruit. And it becomes almost a new addiction in a sense. You know, you want to chase that next blessing because you know what surrendering gives you.
yeah, I'll admit it was a crazy time. We had this dream to go travel and we're like, okay, we're not going to wait till retirement. We're going to do it now. But at the same time, there's all this programming that has been put into our heads about
Mm-hmm.
how we have to, work a regular job and, the kids have to go to a regular school and, you just have all this programming. And so you're overcoming all of these habits, all of
Mm-hmm.
these things that have been, intentionally put into your head because, I mean, let's face it, our parents are trying to provide us with the best path that they know how. And
Right,
so, I look at that, I'm like, yeah, you were giving me the best knowledge that you had.
right,
And unfortunately, fortunately, I don't know how it is. My path is completely different. And
right,
I, not everyone understands that. And that's
right,
okay.
right,
Um,
right. I love it. So now you guys have been traveling the world for how long?
over 4 years now.
Wow. So give us a little view of what that looked like in the last 4 years. Where have you been? Where did you start?
We started, this is one of the amazing things that just happens when you do let go. So my husband had done a little research online. And there's groups for everything. There's conferences for everything. So he had searched for, is there a conference for families that travel? And he came up, and one popped up immediately, and it was the Family Adventure Summit. And they had this wonderful introductory video, and he found it, shared it with me, and I was like, oh my gosh, we have to go. This is perfect. And the thing was, it was in Bali, and we were in Lawrence, Kansas, and it's a long ways away. But it was very fortuitous that he found that, because that's what set our timeline. Because we said we are going to be there, and that is going to be the start of our travels. And if we hadn't had that kickoff point, that goal that said, okay, we're going to be in Bali in September of 2019, I'm not sure we would have left. And then the pandemic hit, and things happen, right? So things happen for a reason. So we started in Bali. We met this wonderful group of families that travel with their children, and they do it all different ways. Some of them are international, some of them RV throughout the US, and some of them take vans and drive south through, the Americas. So there's a whole variety of people. But the great thing was, this was like our tribe. These people understood the desire to do something different, to think outside the box, to parent differently, to educate differently, to live differently. And so we started right there, and it was the best thing for us to have that support system. When we discovered that, not all of our friends and family were really so supportive of our decision to do this.
Right. Yeah. We haven't taken a leap in that degree, my husband and I, but the little leaps we've taken, we run into the same thing. We get
absolutely.
Good. So
from Bali, from Bali we went to Thailand, and Thailand to Vietnam, and then the pandemic hit, and we were 3 months into our 3-month visa in Vietnam, and the pandemic hit, and we had about 12-hour notice where we had to decide if we were going to try to leave or extend our visa. And that's a lot of stress. It's a lot of pressure. 5-6 months into our travels, where you're faced with this kind of unprecedented global shutdown, which we didn't know how long it was going to last, but where
it was going to go from there. Yeah.
Absolutely. But we made the decision to stay. We were enjoying Vietnam. We love the people. And so we made the decision to stay, and it was the best decision we could have made. We ended up being in Vietnam for 18 months. I could go on and on and on about Vietnam, but it's like one of the most underrated places, and it was amazing.
Awesome.
Yeah, 18 months there, and then the government actually decided that they were going to stop renewing the visa for all foreigners. Not sure what prompted that decision, but they said you have to leave, and we said, where do we go? And there weren't a whole lot of options at that point, because there was still a lot of closures. Countries were still closed, and we couldn't get our vaccines being in Vietnam. So our real option, the only one that we really looked at then, was Mexico. Mexico was open, and we're like, we like Mexico. We'll be in the same time zones as, our family and most of our friends. And, it's not a bad thing. So we went to Mexico. We bounced around there for a bit. And then we started heading south. So we hit Guatemala, El Salvador, Nicaragua. We jumped down to Ecuador, Peru, and then started working our way up. And went to Colombia, and now we're back to Guatemala because we loved it so much.
That is beautiful. So that's where you're at right now.
We are. We are at Hibalito. My son gives me Spanish pronunciation lessons. He says I'm terrible. That's this little village, remote. You can only get here by boat. Actually, it's on Lake Atitlan, and there's 3 volcanoes. I can see 2 of them as I look out. 3 volcanoes around the lake. It's this gorgeous, gorgeous place, and yeah, it's just this. We were here last year for Christmas, and we were, a couple months ago, we're like, oh, where should we spend Christmas? And the kids were like, Lake Atitlan.
Nice.
And we said, okay, let's go back. And it's actually the first place we've come back to in our 4+ years of travel. It's the first place we've returned to. So
I
it's
love
special
that.
for us.
Yes, and I bet for the kids to have that, to be heard and seen in that way where they get to pick where they're traveling, it makes it just stay a great experience. It's their, that's great because you're pulling out of them where they resonated at, and they get to go on a deeper exploration if they already resonated with that. So we totally forget to give our children that space, and we don't have to travel the world and be in that setting to start practicing, right? Experiencing and hearing our children newly, and be willing to try something different with them as well as you're setting resolutions and stuff like that. Intentional living, I help you figure out in every role in your life how you can be more intentional and do something better. But I think that's beautiful. Your kids are reaping and will continue to reap. It's going to be generational. You just change the trajectory of your bloodline. It's beautiful. So I'm very, 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 very blessed to meet you, hear this part of your story. I'm very inspired by it, and I can't wait as we collaborate together, as we talked about, in the speaker world and sharing our stories and all of that. So, give us an idea of what's next for you. What's your next goals? I mean, you've already jumped into a huge one, right? 4 years in, you're the trust is more there, right? It's not as, I'm sure there's still day-to-day challenges as we face in anything
Oh,
we're going to do.
absolutely.
Um, but that big jump, you're settling into that. What's next? What's the next big jump?
The next big jump for me is really getting on stages and inspiring large groups of people.
Love that.
Um, it really hit me after an accident that my son and I had in Vietnam. This, just feeling came into me like you are here for a bigger purpose.
Mm,
Um, and the bit that you're doing through your website and through Facebook, that's not enough. And so it really came to me, and I have to admit, it scared the heck out of me at the time. I've had an irrational, well, I'll just say it, I grew up incredibly, incredibly shy. I like to say I was born shy. I
mhm,
really feel that way. Like there was something that, I needed that attachment. My mom talks about it. I was tied to her apron strings
mhm,
forever and was just an incredibly shy person. And the thought of speaking on a stage, like, oh
mhm.
man, that struck fear. And I
Right.
started working on that, just mentally, like, okay, what would it be like?
Mhm,
I've been, I've done presentations for jobs in the past, and whew, they were, they were intense. Like it was nerve wracking, and I'm up there, my heart's pounding, and I'm just like, oh, okay, I can do this, I can do this, and it's just all this over preparation, and I got through them, and I
right.
survived. But
Right.
I was like, oh man, no, I need to do this. I need to own this, and I need to feel good about it. And so I started really doing the mental work to
Great.
put myself out there
Mhm,
and to make it not just okay, but something that I really wanted to do.
right.
And so that has come kind of full circle. I was like, all right, now is the time to really get out there and do this and spread the word to so many more people, because I just feel that it's so sad to me when I hear that people have dreams
Mhm,
that they're not pursuing. They're
right.
okay. You know what? In 5 years, or when the house is paid off, or when the kids are out of the house.
Mhm.
And I'm like, there's no guarantee. There's no
There really
guarantee that
isn't.
things are going to line up.
Mhm,
And then you lose people, right? Like I just lost an uncle who was, you know,
mhm,
10 years older than my husband, and I'm like, God, he barely retired, and he's
mhm.
gone. And it
Yeah,
just like it hits me even more. Then it's like, oh no, this message, it has to get out there.
absolutely. I get it. I get it. You're speaking our language. Activate your power now, becoming the best you. Everyone that's connected with, I know for sure with Activate Your Power Now, and I see it in BTBY, is we're all wanting to become better some way. We want to um, get rid of all those fears, those attachments, and we're all have that story of why we should have never been the ones to be chosen to get on stage and share our story, and it's that doing it anyway. And I think that's what I'm hearing, what the big message is with to our conversation today is, if you're scared, do it anyway. Do it anyway. um, I remember when you were speaking of your fear of jumping into your next big thing with speaking. When my husband and I got engaged, I remember we were having Christmas, which was just his siblings and mom, some of my siblings, and maybe my mom. And so, very small crowd. We were at my house, so I should have been comfortable and stuff. And I remember telling my husband, "Hey, this is our last Christmas together. That we're going to be married next year, um, and stuff." So I was like wanting a toast to it, but I was too embarrassed to use my voice to capture everybody's attention to turn and look at me to say something like this, because everything that would come out of my mouth when I was younger was dumb, stupid, stuff like that. So that's kind of what I expected if it came out of my mouth from my people that were there. Like, oh, there's Chavela being sensitive and, everything. So I told him, I was like, I wanted to make a toast. Like, I felt resonated to acknowledge that. And he was like, well, tell them. And I'm like, no, 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 you tell them. So I started getting so scared within my body, trembling and butterflies. When he was started telling everyone I had something to say, I stood there and just started bawling. I couldn't even get
Oh,
the words out of my mouth. And then, because I have a background of aggressiveness, the way I learned to handle things in life was fight your way through it and be willing to take an ass whooping while you're getting to where you want to go to. So screwed up. So my trigger was always when I became emotional in any way, anger was the next thing that followed. So I remember I cried, I was so embarrassed, and then I got pissed off that he put me in that situation. So totally blocked him energetically. I didn't know about energy, all that stuff yet, and everything. That was 20 years ago. So, but now I'm looking back on all of this, and it was like, no, it's funny that I'm on stage too, and everybody just thinks I'm just the most natural speaker, like, because I've always talked a lot. I'm like, but see, that part of me because you met me when I felt in a safe place to be able to utilize my voice and not be scared. Before you knew me, that wasn't always me. They don't know the battle that got me here, and how I had to courageously say yes as well. Um, so thank you so much for sharing your story, which is just a little piece of it. Y'all heard, or you hearing on the replay, that she's seeking to get on stages, get on podcasts. Where can they find you if to reach out to you, Karen?
sure. Facebook so it's Facebook, Karen Yates, Inspire My Dreams. You can also connect with me through inspiremydreams.com or LinkedIn as well. So,
Awesome. And we'll get that in the comments. Yeah, because there's tons of virtual stages out there available, and your story is just going to inspire many, many, many people. So thank you so much for saying yes to your intentional living and to your activation. And I can't wait, like I said, to work together with you with Activate Your Power Now and becoming the best you, so you can continue to tell your story and grow into your next big um, goal of speaking. So
thank you so much, Izzy. It's incredible, how we get even connected. It's like, an acquaintance of, no, it's like an acquaintance of an acquaintance introduced us, and it's like, okay, things just go. And I think that's one of the things I've really learned is just to accept how things come in and
yeah,
and roll with it, because when you do that, like incredible things happen. Like we've met, well, you and I have met, but through our travels, we've met some of the most incredible people, and it's just you're like, these are freak encounters. These really shouldn't necessarily happen. That
right,
this person and this person, you're staying in the same place at the same time.
right,
It's like, you cross paths and then you realize that, wow, we needed to meet. And this
Yeah.
was actually planned by someone other than us.
Exactly, exactly. So, if we leave it simply to the universe is has things available to us, but it's not going to bring it to us. So it takes action on our part, right? Accountability, to know that we have to seek. So in order to seek and truly be in the understanding of the natural guidance we all have, it takes the pause, the breath, be in now that's your life, which is I admire that because that's what God has been showing me through my intentional living is no, it's not, you don't fit your belief system around your programming, your day to day, go clocking into that job and everything. Your belief system is your life and your needs, right? How you make your money, how you survive, how you all of that was a natural byproduct of you just surrendering to that. So the money will come in the different ways that, like you said, be willing to accept what's coming to you and say yes, and know that it's yes for now. No shame, and if it changes tomorrow, that's the
Absolutely not.
programming. So we'll go ahead. We didn't want to take too much of everybody's time because we know we all have pretty busy things going on right now this time of year. I know over here in the States, but I don't know. It looks like you have some busyness with just sitting on that beautiful patio and listening. I've been hearing the birds, and I'm like, wow, to be sitting there right now. I can see, is that a reflection or is that a window behind you?
That's a window with a reflection of the volcano, one of the volcanoes actually
Wow.
in the background.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, I was on a journey. I was imagining myself there while we was talking. So,
Oh,
um,
good.
thank you for the
I
experience.
had to say, Guatemala is one of the other really undervalued destinations. It's incredible. The people are amazing here. Um, it's the reason we came back, really. The
I
people,
love it.
just welcoming, friendly, happy people.
Yeah.
We've traveled a lot, and culture. You get a feel for it.
Mhm.
Are the people culturally just happy? And in Guatemala, gosh, they have very little, many of them,
Mhm.
and they are the most welcoming, open, happy
Mhm.
people, and it's just, we love it.
Yeah, it sounds beautiful. Sounds amazing. I'm glad you guys get to experience that. Well, we'll be talking soon. And just want to say bye to everybody. Thank you for tuning in live or on replay. So, peace.
Thanks again, Izzy.
Let me figure out how to end this.